They teach you to seek comfort, but they never tell you what comfort quietly steals from you. Your sharpness, your edge, your mind. From a young age, you were trained to believe intelligence is something fixed, that some people are born smart and others are not, that if you struggle, it means you lack something. But the truth is darker and far more powerful than that. What if intelligence is not a gift, but a response? What if the brain only wakes up when it feels trapped, tested, or threatened? This is where the awakening begins. Look closely at the world around you. Notice how comfort is everywhere. Soft beds, easy food, endless entertainment, a screen that never stops talking so you never have to think. This world is not designed to make you intelligent. It is designed to keep you calm, distracted, and manageable. Because a comfortable brain does not question, it does not observe deeply. It does not sharpen itself. It rests. But the human brain was never meant to rest for long. It was built to solve problems, to sense danger, to adapt fast or fall behind. When life is easy, the brain goes quiet. When life becomes hard, the brain turns on. Think about the moments in your life when your mind felt sharpest, not relaxed, not happy, but alive. It was probably during stress, during fear, during a moment where you had no choice but to focus. Your thoughts became clear. Your senses woke up. Time slowed down. That is not an accident. The brain has a hidden mode, a survival mode. And in that mode, intelligence multiplies. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology. He watched kings lose their power the moment they grew too comfortable, the moment they stopped preparing for danger, because comfort tells the brain you are safe, and safety tells the brain there is no need to grow. This is why struggle creates thinkers, why pain creates awareness, why people who come from nothing often see more clearly than those who had everything. Pressure forces the brain to connect ideas faster, to read people better, to predict outcomes instead of hoping for them. Comfort does the opposite. It numbs instinct. It slows thought. It replaces awareness with routine. This is why many highly educated people still think weakly. They learned facts, but never learned urgency. And this is why many dangerous minds were never praised in school. Because intelligence does not always look calm. Sometimes it looks restless. Sometimes it looks angry. Sometimes it looks alone. Society tells you to avoid discomfort at all costs. Avoid stress. Avoid pressure. Avoid pain. But every great shift in thinking came from discomfort. Every evolution of the mind came from friction. When you remove friction, you remove growth. Machiavelli once warned that a ruler who lives in peace too long forgets how power truly works. The same applies to the mind. When the brain is never challenged, it becomes soft. When it is never threatened, it becomes blind. This is why boredom feels painful to intelligent people. It is the brain screaming for resistance. The forbidden brain hack begins with a harsh decision. You must stop protecting your mind from discomfort. Not recklessly, not foolishly, but deliberately. You place yourself in situations where thinking matters, where silence is required, where mistakes have consequences. Because consequence sharpens thought, you delay pleasure. You sit with difficulty. You let questions stay unanswered long enough for the brain to stretch. This is how intelligence is activated, not by consuming more content, but by removing ease. The brain does not become powerful when it is fed constantly. It becomes powerful when it is forced to hunt. And here is the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. If your life is too comfortable, your mind is probably asleep. This is not an insult, it is a warning. Because the world does not reward comfort forever. Eventually, pressure arrives whether you are ready or not. And when it does, only awake minds survive. The brain was never meant to be coddled. It was meant to be tested. Pressure is not the enemy, it is the teacher. Comfort feels kind, but it slowly takes your edge, and once the edge is gone, power follows. The first law is simple but brutal. Your brain does not awaken until comfort dies. Intelligence is not something you inherit, it is something pressure activates. A comfortable life may feel safe, but it quietly weakens your thinking. Only resistance sharpens the mind, and only pressure turns the key. Once the mind begins to wake up, something strange happens. Life does not get brighter. It gets clearer, and clarity is not gentle. When intelligence turns on, it does not arrive like a reward. It arrives like a burden. Because now you see things you can no longer unsee. You start to notice how people speak without meaning what they say. How smiles hide fear. How kindness often hides weakness, and anger often hides pain. This is the moment where many people stop going forward, not because they cannot think, but because they cannot feel what thinking costs. True intelligence pulls you away from comfort in a different way. Not physical comfort, emotional comfort. You begin to question things others accept without thought. Rules, traditions, promises. You start asking why when everyone else says that's just how it is. And that question makes people uneasy because most people do not want truth. They want peace. They want stories that help them sleep at night. Intelligence does the opposite. It keeps you awake. Machiavelli saw this clearly in rulers and in crowds. He noticed that people often hate the one who sees too much. Not because that person is wrong, but because truth feels like an attack on comfort. As your mind sharpens, your reactions change. You stop responding fast. You stop explaining yourself to everyone. You stop chasing agreement. And this silence makes others uncomfortable. They start to call you cold, distant, different. Not because you changed your heart, but because you stopped feeding their expectations. This is where the descent begins. You realize that intelligence separates. It does not always connect. The smarter you become, the more alone you feel in a crowded room, because conversations feel shallow. Emotions feel loud but empty, and drama feels pointless. You see patterns others miss. You sense danger before it shows its face. You notice power moves hiding inside small gestures, and once you see these things, pretending not to see them feels impossible. This is why many people turn back. They dull their minds with noise, with endless entertainment, with anger, with comfort, because awareness is heavy. It forces responsibility. When you see clearly, you can no longer blame ignorance. You can no longer say, "I didn't know." You must choose carefully. Intelligence demands discipline. And discipline scares people more than ignorance ever could. Machiavelli warned that those who understand power must accept isolation. Because power thinking is not emotional thinking, the intelligent mind does not react instantly. It pauses, it measures, it waits. And in a world addicted to instant emotion, patience looks suspicious. You begin to notice how often people are controlled by their feelings, how praise blinds them, how fear directs them, how anger owns them. And slowly, you stop letting emotions drive you. That alone makes you dangerous. Because the person who is not ruled by emotion is hard to manipulate. This is why society often pushes intelligent people back into line, tells them to relax, to stop overthinking, to just enjoy life. But what they really mean is, stop seeing what we don't want to face. The descent is not about becoming dark. It is about becoming honest. And honesty is lonely. You lose the comfort of belonging without thought. You lose the safety of shared illusions. You lose the warmth of easy agreement. In return, you gain clarity, control, vision. But many decide the price is too high. So they choose comfort over clarity, emotion over discipline, noise over silence. They step back into the fog because the fog feels warm. Machiavelli understood this choice well. He knew most people would rather feel good than see clearly, rather feel right than be right. That is why true intelligence is rare. not because it is unreachable, but because it asks for emotional sacrifice, and most people are not willing to pay it. They want the image of being smart, the praise, the label, but not the weight that comes with it. So they stop at the edge, they sense the depth, and they turn away. The descent tests you. It asks a quiet question. Are you willing to be misunderstood to stay awake? Are you willing to stand alone rather than live asleep? Are you willing to lose comfort to gain truth? Because intelligence does not protect you from pain. It removes excuses. And that is terrifying. True intelligence does not make life easier. It makes life clearer. And clarity can feel cold at first. But it also brings freedom. The freedom to choose with open eyes instead of closed hope. Most people don't fail to become intelligent. They choose comfort over clarity. They turn back when intelligence demands emotional sacrifice. Awareness brings isolation, discipline, and responsibility, and only those who accept that cost continue forward. At some point, something shifts inside you. The noise no longer pulls you the way it used to. Pressure still exists, but it no longer controls you. This is the moment most people never reach. Because awakening the mind is one thing, learning to live with it is another. True mastery begins when intelligence stops reacting and starts choosing. You already know discomfort sharpens the brain. You already know clarity brings distance. Now comes the final lesson: how to hold this power without letting it harden you. Because an undisciplined, sharp mind becomes dangerous in the wrong way. It becomes bitter, arrogant, restless. And history is full of intelligent people who destroyed themselves because they could not control what they saw. Machiavelli warned that power without control is weakness in disguise. The same is true for intelligence. The mastered mind is not loud. It does not rush to correct. It does not prove itself in every room. It watches. Silence becomes a tool, not a fear. Patience becomes strength, not delay. You stop needing to show how much you know, because you understand something deeper now. Information is common. Judgment is rare. You learn to turn the pressure on and off. You choose hard situations instead of living inside them. You seek challenge without living in chaos. You step into discomfort, then step back before it consumes you. This is where most people fail. They think mastery means constant intensity, constant grind, constant stress. But that is not mastery. That is addiction to struggle. The disciplined mind knows when to fight and when to wait, when to speak and when to stay quiet, when to push and when to let things unfold. You begin to see emotions as signals, not commands. Anger becomes information. Fear becomes awareness. Desire becomes something you observe instead of obey. This changes how people experience you. You become hard to read, hard to provoke, hard to control, not because you are closed, but because you are centered. Machiavelli believed the most powerful figure is the one who cannot be easily moved, not by praise, not by insult, not by fear. This is the final form of the forbidden brain hack. Your intelligence no longer lives in your thoughts alone. It lives in your behavior. You stop reacting quickly. You stop explaining unnecessarily. You stop giving emotional energy to things that do not matter. Instead, you choose your moments. You let others underestimate you. You let them speak first. You let silence reveal their intentions. Because when you are calm under pressure, you see more. When you are quiet, others reveal themselves. This is not manipulation for cruelty. This is self-preservation. The world rewards those who can remain steady while others panic, those who think clearly while others react emotionally. You no longer seek to be the smartest voice in the room. You seek to be the calmest. And calm intelligence changes everything. It protects you from burnout. It protects you from arrogance. It protects you from becoming trapped inside your own mind. You stay human. You allow yourself rest without guilt. enjoyment without excess, connection without dependence. The mastered mind does not escape life. It moves through life with awareness. You accept that most people will never see what you see, and you stop trying to wake them. Because mastery includes restraint. You understand now, not every truth needs to be spoken. Not every battle needs to be fought. Not every thought needs an audience. Machiavelli hinted that the highest form of power is subtle, unseen, controlled. The same applies to intelligence. You have nothing to prove anymore, only choices to make. And when pressure arrives, as it always does, your mind does not scatter, it focuses. You breathe, you observe, you decide. This is how intelligence becomes wisdom, not through accumulation, but through clarity under stress. True mastery is not about knowing more than others. It is about remaining steady when things fall apart. A sharp mind without control destroys itself, but a disciplined mind becomes unshakable. This is where intelligence turns into quiet power. True mastery is calm intelligence under stress, a mind sharpened by discomfort, disciplined by silence, and guided by purpose. This is how you become smarter than any genius, not by knowing more, but by seeing clearer.